To talk about how Blur would reform it, I've said this, dude. I've done this spiel like 5 times. Talking about melee shit is actually exhausting because you pretty much just say the same thing over and over again and watch it not happen.
Mhm.
But it's like the same ideas I was talking about for like 8 years. The way you're supposed to do it, you're supposed to do tennis style rankings. That's the optimal way for melee. You basically make a season beforehand. So we have the Smash calendar, right? So one thing that can maybe help yours is instead of self declare, like Panda could just declare, right? They could just have the calendar, right? Like they can just be like, okay, the next 6 months, here's what's on the calendar. Here's what we give points, right?
Mhm.
And I think you should do it through points then. Like, and I think it should be placement based. So the reason why I think placement based is so much better than you're saying like, oh, like head to head based, is because we've seen in melee like people don't play the same and aren't the same tournament to tournament, right? The times Mango gets 17th are
Mhm.
not the same Mango as when he gets like third. You know what I mean? It's just literally not the same player.
Mhm.
And usually I'm of the opinion that if you got third, you had to beat someone who beat someone. So therefore, it was a good win, and it
Mhm.
was a little bit more valuable. And that's why placements are ultimately important. Like, yes, it's not gonna like you can still like break down anyone's placement, and be like, ah, they didn't beat anyone good, but they did they did what was in front of them. That's the way I look at it. It's like
I
you
think
did
the
as well as you could do.
That's fair, and I think the placements work really well or work much better for, like, the top 8s. But I think when you're looking at people who we like, in the past couple of days got ranked in the 30s and 40s, and
Yeah,
their placements are, like what is it, like 17th, 17th, I don't remember what the numbers are, like that kind of thing, where they're
yeah.
very middling and very comparable, and where they benefit significantly relative to other players around their skill by, like, a DQ or, like, an upset or something. I think that that's when placement-based points really starts to fall apart.
What does benefit by an upset mean though? Like, end of the day, if someone upsets someone, doesn't that mean that the person who just upset them is playing pretty freaking good today, and that they're going to be a hard win? You know what I mean? Like, ultimately, the when I watch tournaments, it's like it's the people's skill level isn't static,
I
right?
mean,
Like it's very variable, and the someone who
that's
you
true.
beat at the beginning of the season is going to be a completely different player by the end of the year, right? So it's like, okay, just look at by head to head, and it's like, bro, someone in January is not the same player as they are in December. It's not the same win. It's like, and we keep doing that, but it's just not true, right? And
I mean,
that's why placements, yeah.
there's also edge cases where that isn't the case. Like for example, Wizrobe DQing from Genesis led to 404 Cray getting 33rd, beating no top 100. Like his best one was Greg Turbo. No disrespect to Greg Turbo, but not like a top 50 player,
I
and he
mean,
got 33rd at Genesis
yeah, I mean, you're gonna
with
have
that
DQ,
placement.
but dude, like, actually think
And
about it. Like, in terms
but
of the percentage of total bracket sets, how often are late DQs a thing? Like, it's pretty rare. Like, we're
there's
talking
also like
about
matchups.
one, maybe two a year. It's not gonna affect the totality of how good a point system is. There's
Yeah, no,
also
I think
matchups,
that's a fair point. That's a
but
fair point.
I
The
think you should be
fact that
rewarded for the characters you play. Like, it's fine.
no, I think that that's fair. I think that yeah, that's a very valid opinion.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a so basically you just make a point system. Every tournament has like a point value. Usually, like the biggest tournament, let's say Genesis, like 1,000 point events is the platinum tier. Every placing has a point value, and then you go down and you do that for every tier of tournament. So let's say function as 400 points, that you can win at it, etc. And you do it just like, I mean, this is literally a system that I helped build and other people helped build for Tekken World Tour and Capcom Pro. Like, this is using other fighting games, and it's
Mhm.
amazing and it works really well. Um, and
Not
we
melee.
should do that. We're just not good at doing
And so,
everything.
why do you think that that kind of system hasn't been adopted in Melee?
Because for whatever reason, and I really don't know why, the people running rankings in general think that you need the component TOs' like approval to do a system like that. You don't. You just give their tournament some points and you fucking run it, and that's it. And I think people are also afraid of like, oh, I'm gonna give Genesis the highest tier, but I'm not gonna give it to, I don't know, Riptide. Maybe the Riptide people are gonna be mad at me. You see what I'm saying? Like, they're worried
Mhm.
about their little like relationships and shit. And it's like, bro, Genesis is bigger than Riptide. You gotta do what you gotta do. It's fine. It's okay. We know that before the season starts, and that kind of stratification is gonna help attendance, and it's gonna help, um, like actually knowing what things are worth beforehand. Like what's cool about that is you actually don't end up having a year-end ranking. You do a rolling ranking like tennis does, where let's say, let's say at Wave Dash, we would have known, for example, if it's a live ranking, that JMOOC versus HBox is for third in the world, right? Like whoever wins this is going to earn a certain number of points, and that's going to unseat the other one, right? Like something like that. And similarly, you can even look at sets, which would be for first in the world, which is what tennis has. Sometimes tennis has like Federer versus Djokovic, and like whoever wins that set becomes first in the world immediately, right? And that's really hype. And it's really good for the storylines. It's also really good for attendance because what happens for top players in terms of their mentality is like, let's say a Zayn, he's not this type of guy. Thankfully, our number one's pretty good. His ranking, like he has to continue attending if he wants to hold on to his number one, right? Right now it's amorphous. It's like he doesn't attend for 3 months, he might still get ranked number one. I don't fucking know. Depends on what the panelists say. When it's like you don't attend for 3 months, you're not earning any points right now. You're probably Cody's gonna pass you. Are you gonna really want to live in that world? He probably won't. He's probably gonna attend. You know what I mean? So there's like a ton of benefits. Mostly the number one is it guarantees top player attendance, especially at certain tiers of events, right? Like that's huge.
So do
Yeah,
you think
anyway.
that head-to-head should be discounted entirely in terms of ranking?
I think in general, yeah. I know some people are like super into it. It's just it doesn't make sense. I think they're making assumptions that just aren't true, right? Like I just don't find head to be as valuable as other people do, right? Like
Right,
let's look at JMOOC, right? Like even beating him at the beginning of the season is not going to be the same as now. It's just not.
Right.
He's better now.
Right. So I mean, in some ways, you're advocating for a more drastic shift, but also more implementable in the way that we do ranking.
It's super doable to do the systems I'm talking about. You
No,
literally
I
just have
agree.
to look
I
at the
agree.
schedule, slap some points on it, and you fucking let it
No,
rock.
I
That's all you
agree that
gotta
it's
do.
implementable. It's even more drastically. Not that that's an issue.
Blur. Remember when you did your Blur rank last year? Have you
Yeah.
like? Would it just be possible, just like as testing grounds, just like instead of doing panel based, just like slap points and then see how much different it would be?
You could very much do it. Like it's not again. It's ultimately what the thing is like the thing that would be hard for me to get a product like that off the ground is because I have no prizing or anything into it. I'd be worried that I'm competing with another ranking. Like I can put points on something. Can I make people care about those points? Right. So
Yeah.
I would need a lot of help from other people to make sure that those points are like what people care about. If I make a fucking list and people still are talking about the goddamn PGR, even though we all know it's not a great system, then it won't really do its intended effect.
Okay.
Like what makes a CPT or TWT really have legs is the publisher's official ranking, right? And people are like, "Yeah, you're the best second player in the world." You know why? Because freaking Bandai Namco said so, right?
Right. And so, how would the system you're proposing differ from something like a Panda or whatever this other one is, the VGBC one?
It's okay. Then there's like a few ones. Number one is living, right? So basically, at all times, you know who the world number one is. It's just like tennis. If you watch tennis, this will make a lot of sense to you. Basically, and this will happen after the first season, right? But like after 1 year, every single tournament that happens updates the ranking. Literally every single tournament that occurs updates the ranking. And basically, the tournaments from a year and 1 day ago fall off the ranking, right? So it's a rolling ranking. That's what rolling ranking means. So continuously, the list is updated at all times, and it continues the conversation the whole year, right? And then you get to start talking about records like they have in tennis, which is how many total number of weeks did they have number one, right? Like in terms of their career, and how many total in a row, especially like who is the most dominant player? We'd have a direct answer. It's like they were world number one for 2 years, 3 years. That's like no one's done that before, and that's like that would be like a feather in their cap. That's again what they do in tennis.
Blur,
Yeah.
one last question. Doesn't this kind of punish our non-American players?
So you have to balance for that. I think like basically what you do is you would make high point events at the other like in other countries, and that would probably make them go to those countries. By the way, like what if Fete was like the not Genesis tier, but probably the next tier down, right? Maybe some motherfuckers would go, right? At the moment, the way rankings are done, there is no incentive to go international, and I think it's hurt the international scenes hugely. And so this would give a genuine incentive because they would know months beforehand, right? Like it's like months beforehand. I know that Fete like is worth a shit ton, and so they can plan like
Fan.
4 or 5 months ago before the event to buy a ticket. Whereas right now, it's like who's gonna like one of the things with international tournaments, you know this, Kodo. It's like, do I
So
go to Smash
expensive.
Factor? Who's going? I don't want to fucking fly to Mexico, go international,
I went
go
to
across the
Australia.
world for Australia, whatever. If no one's going, like the reason Phantom had a lot of people, mostly because it was helped out by the Mogul Moves gang, a lot of people who were really like
Yeah, we just went out of the goodness of
promoting
our
it.
hearts, basically.
And for Joshman, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people were giving that love, but the truth is like it was really you have to pull teeth to get someone there because it's like they don't know who else is going, and it's not worth their time if they just go to an Australian local, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so they want to see that a shit ton of other people are going, but that leads to a really hard problem where it's like, how do we get the first like 3, 4, 5 people to commit to going to get everyone else to go, right? And even then, why would those people go when they could just go to like any American tournament like any other Sunday and have pretty much just as stacked, right? Like you're basically walking uphill to try to get people to go at international events, and that's kind of just not smart for the scene's growth. It's just not good.
Yeah, the other alternative though could be that Max gets ranked in the top 30 because nobody goes to Fate anyway, just gets a bunch of points.
Yeah. Now, people did mention that a similar system, which is not a full system because it doesn't include every event, which was SWT, did help this sort of with the same general concept, which is Fete had left in HBox AMSA because it had 800 SWT. I don't think they would have gone otherwise, right? Like look at the SWT. Look at the previous.
I
Fete
get the
before
vibe that most of them, like,
would have gone. you
HBox
think?
HBox wasn't originally going to go, and he only went because of a ultimate event that was happening the weekend
yeah,
before.
I
and then he
get
had
that
to,
they're going out of the goodness of their hearts rather than
Yeah.
SWT
Maybe,
points.
maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like the
and I
vibe
think
of
and
SWT
AMSA
is
got
nobody
flown.
cares.
AMSA got flown out to it too. Like it,
right.
and then
SWT's
Leffen
points don't
chose
even
not to go.
matter.
Yeah.
SWT
I
points
don't
don't
think
even matter.
anybody's really looking at the point, to be honest.
No one's looking at either PGR, like the Pan finals, or like those circuits might as well not exist. It's
Yeah.
kind of
Until the
insane.
end, no one cares about it until the end.
I said it when they were all announced, and you guys are seeing it play out in real life. They call themselves circuits, but they're one event.
Yeah.
They're literally one event. It's both those finals events. They're one event, just like any other event. They're just like dressed up on a webpage with some other stuff I don't know that no one seems to be paying attention to. But if those sort of systems included every single event and said point values, clearly and distinctly for every single event before the season, then they would be dope, right? But that's not what it is. Right now, oh great, I'm high on SWT points. Who cares? It doesn't include Big House, right? It doesn't include Genesis. Like doesn't mean anything, right? Like it's just some random, spreadsheet. So